How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the stock market, breaking down what happened today in the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ, and I also want to go over the top stocks and ETFs that I'm watching right now. What am I looking to trade here in the middle of May and for the rest of May in 2020? And I also want to go over what I've been doing. What are some moves that I've been making here in the stock market as of late? And like many of you guys already saw in the markets today, you saw in the title, we sold off quite drastically. So I also want to go over what I'm doing right now and what I'm actually looking for tomorrow, as tomorrow is a pretty important day for the market because the Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is actually speaking at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and also feel free to join our free Discord chat and Facebook group, link down below in the description box. And did I mention that's free? Yeah, go get in there. Again, link down below. So let's start off the video with the S&P 500 here, which ended up going down a whopping $60.20, down 2.05%. And it's been a while, guys. Maybe not a while, but I feel like it's been a couple of trading days at least. It's been a good solid week or two at least since the S&P, the markets in general, have fallen over 2% like this. So pretty sizable red day when it comes to the session today. And when we break down some technicals, you guys can notice the S&P clearly got rejected yet again at 2950, right? We got rejected there back towards the end of April. We tried breaking out on the 11th of May. We tried again today on the 12th of May, and ultimately we ended up breaking below 2900, which was a critical support. So needless to say, we're seeing a double top here on the S&P. We broke 2900, but if we pull back a bit here to the 90-day chart, the uptrend is actually still intact, as you guys can see based on this red trend line here on the 2-hour chart. And you guys can also see it on the 4-hour chart, right? We're maintaining the moving averages as support levels. So although we are struggling at 2950, 2900, we are maintaining the uptrend. And for that, obviously, to continue, we're going to have to hold this level here at about 2870, 2875, and try to make our way back up. And for the bulls, that is what I'm watching for tomorrow, right? Are we going to somehow break 2900 and make our way back up to 2950? At that point, we could make some moves here in individual stocks, right? Or some ETFs that trade based upon the S&P 500, like SPXL, for example, right? So I'm looking to see what direction the S&P ends up picking tomorrow and what we're going to do in this wedge, right? Because we're clearly trading in this wedge, and the range we're in is again between 2870 and about 2950. So keep an eye on those technicals for the S&P. When it comes to the Dow Jones today, guys, down 1.9%, down 460 bucks. Now we're trading back under the moving averages here on the 4-hour chart. You guys can see on the 20-day chart, we're actually starting a descending pattern at this point. Although we're seeing higher lows, right? We're also seeing lower highs, meaning the Dow is also in a wedge pattern right now. So keep an eye on which direction we end up breaking out here on the hourly chart for the Dow Jones. And when it comes to the NASDAQ, guys, a 2% red day, just like the S&P, down about 186 points here. And you guys can see, although we did drop, the uptrend seems like it's intact, right? We're right around that 50 SMA on this hourly chart, which is generally speaking here where the NASDAQ has held as a support over the past couple of weeks. So for tomorrow, I'd be interested in seeing, are we going to hold this? Are we going to hold 90, 50, 9,000, 9,100, this general area, as it is a pretty strong level of support? And I'd be worried, honestly, guys, for the bulls, right? I'd be worried if we were to break $9,000, back into the 8,000s, and especially if big tech started to fall, that would worry me a bit from the bull perspective. And you guys can see big tech today: Netflix, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, they all closed red, right? And they all had pretty sizable red days at that. Microsoft down about 2%, Google down about 2%, Facebook down about 1.5%, Amazon down about, let's take a look at what Amazon's down today, down about 2.2%, Apple down about 1%. So sizable pull downs for the big stocks, but yet again, the Nasdaq still on an uptrend, and many of these large stocks, again, the FANG stocks, are still in uptrends as well. And as for tomorrow, Jerome Powell, again, like I mentioned earlier, is speaking at 9 a.m. And what's the big talk right now with the Fed? Well, interest rates. Interest rates right now are from 0 to 0.25%. We saw Trump today say that he really thinks the United States could benefit from interest rates going negative here in the near-term future. And speaking about that, the futures market is already pricing that in, right? We saw last week, I believe it was on Thursday, we saw that futures contracts for fall are already negative for the Fed funds rate. So for tomorrow, I'm interested in seeing Jerome Powell's demeanor around this, because we've seen Trump and Jerome Powell butt heads in the past. Trump's been saying cut rates aggressively. Powell hasn't really wanted to do that. Now Trump wants to go negative. Powell is really not trying to go negative from my understanding here. So I want to see tomorrow kind of what stance he takes there, and I'm assuming, and again from my research, he's strongly going to oppose these negative rates. But I'm interested, guys, the demeanor, kind of what's in the future here for Fed and Fed policy over the next couple of weeks, months with the CV, right? It's going to be a big time tomorrow when Jerome Powell speaks, and it's really going to move the market. So for me, and you'll see with my moves here, I'm being pretty cautious for tomorrow, guys, to be quite honest, because we're seeing bank stocks fall here, and this very well could lead into another red day tomorrow. So I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Do you think that we're going negative rates? Do you think we're going to stay at 0 for the near-term future? I'd love to know down below in the comments. And again, let me know any thoughts that you have right now on the market. So let's talk about what I personally did today, guys. And honestly, it wasn't too crazy of a day. First thing I did was I ended up locking in profits on GDX at, let me take a look at my notes here, $34.75. And if you guys did not know, yesterday I actually bought some GDX here, a gold miners ETF, at about $33.80. And we saw today an entire gap to where it fell yesterday. You guys saw yesterday we fell from $35 down to about $33.60. We built a strong support. Again, I bought at about $33.80. And looking now, we filled the entire gap, but I actually got out at, again, $34.75. So I pretty much did catch the entire gap fill there. So overall, that move was right around 2.5% when it comes to my overnight GDX trade. And honestly, guys, I didn't build this out completely, right? This was meant to be a longer-term swing, but since I did get a quick little profit there, again, the Fed meeting is tomorrow. I kind of want to be more cash for that at this point, and like I mentioned yesterday, we are seeing a bit of a bearish divergence here on GDX. I figured, let me just take the quick profit. Worst comes to worst, I lose a bit of money, and I can always re-enter tomorrow, right? Or rather, not lose money, I could miss out on money, but again, I'll just re-enter tomorrow, worst case scenario, right? And another thing I ended up doing today, which was a bit more risky, is I bought some Virgin Galactic, ticker symbol SPCE. You guys know I'm long on calls right now. I forget what calls were they in the $20 range. They expire in January 2021. You guys can actually see those calls. I actually have a video down below in the description, WeBull versus Robinhood. I go over a little bit of my position in that video, and you can also see a WeBull options dedicated video that's also linked down below in the description if you guys are interested. But overall, I'm bullish on Virgin Galactic at this point, and I wanted to scoop up some shares on this massive decline that we saw today, down about 10%. And I personally bought in at $17, I believe 85 cents. Let me double check. Yup, $17.85. So I bought into the weakness here, guys. Overall, on this hourly chart, you can see the uptrend, although we are not seeing consolidation quite yet, which is, again, why this is a bit risky. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I wanted to get in a bit. I wanted to get my feet wet, and I always scale in about 10-15% of my position up front, which allows me to mitigate risk, so I'm not too worried about this. Worst comes to worst, I have to cut losses, but the goal is to scale more in at $17, and the chart is showing possibly a move for Virgin Galactic here down to maybe 16.50, which if it does get there, that is where I'd add the bulk of my position, right? And on the 4-hour chart, you guys can see maybe we get down to 16.60, 16.50 based on this 180 SMA support. Maybe we don't, right? And that's kind of what I'm waiting for, and I'm being patient for Virgin Galactic before I do add any more shares. But that's pretty much all I ended up doing today, guys. Picked up some Virgin Galactic, sold out of GDX, and I want to be a lot cash right now due to the markets just dropping. I mean, obviously the uptrend's still intact, but I want to be in cash mostly for this Fed meeting just to see how things go, just to see how the markets react. I think it's a pretty wise stance, at least in my opinion right now, and I'd love to know down below in the comments what are your thoughts. So let's just jump right into stocks that I'm watching now. What am I watching in general as of right now? So the first one I want to talk about is Boeing, ticker symbol BA. We got some news today, and you'll see it here on the live news tab. And by the way, guys, again, I've mentioned this in previous videos. If you're on ThinkOrSwim, which is TD Ameritrade's charting software, you're able to click live news here, and you can see companies' information, whether it's Boeing, Facebook, pretty much whatever stock out there, and indexes. You can see what's going on in real time. So you guys can see here, Boeing sees 108 737 MAX orders canceled in April, and this is just the ongoing story here with Boeing, right? The bailout, the struggle with 737 MAX, the management problems. This company is just an absolute mess right now, in my opinion. And I've mentioned before that I've made the mistake of actually buying in before the whole CV crisis. I was buying in at about $300 in my M1 account where I was buying fractional shares. So not too crazy of a position, but still I was buying in into the 280s, 300s. And once they cut that dividend, guys, that's when I stopped buying into it. Because if I'm looking to hold the company long term with the purpose of receiving a dividend and they cut it completely, I'm not going to continue buying into that company. But when it comes down to some technicals here, we notice how we're downtrending, obviously, right? We're in this wedge, and it's looking to pick a direction. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for here on the long or the short side. And to be honest, my gut feeling is we're going lower, right? My gut feeling here is we're going lower. The markets are up 20-30% when it comes to the S&P. Again, Boeing has been struggling in general. It's actually been going down here as the markets have been going up. So I wonder what would happen if the markets just ripped down. What do you think is going to happen? Is Boeing going to go up? I doubt it, right? I think Boeing would take another leg down. So at this point, I'm looking to see, are we going to break about $120? If we do, that uptrend here, if you guys can see the bottom of the wedge, will 100% break, and that could bring in a lot of selling pressure to the point where, hey, maybe Boeing goes back down to $90, $100, $105, and that could open up a very strong shorting position there. Or you could play put options, whatever your cup of tea is, right, guys? So the next stock here that that went ballistic today, it's actually one of the only green stocks in my watch list, was Beyond Meat, up 5%, up $6, and this is a stock that has just been crushing it, guys. We've been going over this a lot in these videos, and it's broken every level that we've talked about, right? We broke 125, we broke 135, right? And I said if we break 135, we might fill up to 144. That's exactly what happened today, right? You guys saw we filled all the way up to 145. So at one point today, the stock was actually up like 8-9%. So at this point, I'm liking the pull down on Beyond Meat. We pulled down, we're looking to retest 135, old resistance from yesterday and the day before, as a new support. So this could be a good entry point tomorrow for Beyond Meat. And why has the stock been running? Well, the theory is, and I've mentioned it in my videos before, there's a lot of meat shortages, right? When it comes to beef, when it comes to pork, and since Beyond Meat is a meat alternative, obviously they make fake beef, fake pork, fake sausage, the whole 9 yards, right? They've seen a lot of growth in business, and we've seen their earnings numbers. They just reported a couple days ago. They did very well when it comes to earnings, and that's kind of where the stock, ever since then, that's where the stock has really taken off. It did before that from 72 up to 117 because we were still having the meat shortages back then. I mean, back towards the middle of April, that was still a thing. But ever since they reported earnings, that's where it really took off, brought some more momentum here. So I'm just looking to see if it does continue. Best case scenario here is it pulls down to 130. It's looking like it's already trying to do that after hours, as we did break around 136, heading into the after hour session. So tomorrow, guys, 130, that could be a great spot to pick up some shares. And another company here, guys, I should have talked about AMC. Oh my goodness. AMC yesterday was up 50-60% at one point on rumors that Amazon is looking to buy out all 1,000 plus locations nationwide here in the United States. They're just looking to buy out the entire company. And we know at this point, these movie theater stocks, these companies, right? We refer to them as companies, right? A lot of the time I look at it and I'm like, it's not a stock, it's a company, right? These movie theater companies, they've been struggling a lot lately. They're on the brink of bankruptcy. So Amazon coming in and swooping up AMC, it kind of seems like a good acquisition at the end of the day. We could make a whole nother video talking about pros and cons of this. I might actually consider that because that could be a fun video to make. But at the end of the day, Amazon, we saw what they did with Whole Foods, right? They bought out the grocery chain. Now they're looking to get into actual physical movie theaters. Who knows what incentive programs they could run through those movie theaters, right? And who knows if this rumor is even real at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it's just a rumor, guys. But the stock is still worth watching at this point, because if this rumor ends up being true, we might see a massive, massive spike in the stock yet again, to where it might go back to $7, $8, who knows, even higher. So for that reason, although it's a rumor, but although it could happen too, I'm watching it, right? I'm keeping it on my watch list. And like I said earlier, we're potentially going negative rates here pretty soon. Tomorrow's going to be a big day for Jerome Powell speaking, but if we actually go negative, these bank stocks are going to get crushed. And like they have been recently, they've been crushed recently. We can take a look at some of the big ones. JP Morgan down today about 3.3%. Notice how, over the past couple of months, the stock has gotten crushed. We can see Wells Fargo here, ticker symbol WFC. It's at a low right now. The markets are at highs, guys, or not all-time highs, but the markets have been rallying back. It's been a different story for banks. The banks, a lot of them are still at their lows, Wells Fargo being one of them. Down again 3% today. That is pretty bad. And BAC, Bank of America, another big bank here, down about 3.14% today, down 71 cents. Let's take a look at some other ones. Goldman Sachs down about 3.25%. So banks in general are seeing a lot of pressure. And why is this? Well, as rates go down, banks make less money. At the end of the day, banks are making money from, checking accounts, savings accounts, loans, all of this, right? And as the rates go down and even negative, that means literally the banks, or rather, we're going to have to be paying the banks as savers. We're actually going to be paying the banks as savers to hold our money, which is absolutely insane, right? And at the end of the day, what's the Fed rate going down? What is that trying to incentivize? That's trying to incentivize people go out there and actually borrow money, actually, take money out to buy a house, take money out to buy a loan, to just try and stimulate the economy, right? And as rates go up, what is that trying to do? That's trying to stimulate saving. It's trying to stimulate saving. That's also known as quantitative tightening, right? So that's kind of a rundown there on basic, interest rate stuff, what's happening here with the banks and the Federal Reserve. Now, to run through some other stocks here that I'm watching, the last two we're going to talk about are really attractive. One here is CCL, and we've talked about a lot of wedges in today's video. CCL is also in a wedge. We notice how it's uptrending, downtrending at the same time. I was looking at it earlier today to see if it was going to hold about $13.75, maybe $14. It didn't, and now that we're testing about $13.12 or 20, if we break, that could be a sign to go short, right? A put option maybe, an in-the-money put option. We'll see how that goes. But if we end up holding 13.20, we might be able to squeeze back up to 13.75. And if we pop, right, that could be a huge upside move. But with the markets pulling down here, and maybe if we see more downside, that could bring down CCL, and we might again be able to play that put option. And for the last two stocks here, they're video game stocks, and both of these stocks have been killing it, right? The first one is EA, Electronic Arts, and this one I'm watching simply because, again, it's been crushing it, and now we're seeing a bit of weakness in the stock that could be opening up for a short-term pull down. Notice how we're still in an uptrend based on this hourly chart. We're at a higher low, right? And you guys can see we're holding the trend. So I'm thinking if we hold 116, 117 tomorrow, we consolidate there, we could enter and maybe fill back up to the resistance, pretty strong resistance at that, at about $120, which could open up about a 2 to 3% potential for profit there. And another big video game stock here is Activision Blizzard, ticker symbol ATVI, and this pull down is arguably more attractive than Electronic Arts. And excuse me, guys, I'm thinking if we're able to pull down and hold this it's critical, guys. It's critical that we hold this. But if we're able to pull down and hold 68, $69, $70, this general 50 SMA area, old resistance, if we're able to hold it as a new support, this could open up a fantastic opportunity for people, maybe not long-term investors, right? Because the value of the company is maybe not as attractive as it was, obviously, back when the stock was $40, $50. But coming from a swing trader's perspective, this could be an opportunity to get in into a stock that's uptrending, into a stock that just reported great earnings, that obviously has more upside, or not more upside because we don't know, but the technicals are pointing to potential more upside here. So I'm just looking at it, and honestly, I think ATV, for me at least, ATVI, it's at the top of the watch list for tomorrow. Same with SPCE, obviously, as I do have skin in the game with that one already with shares and actual call options. So pretty much, guys, that is it for today's video. Those are a bunch of stocks here that I'm watching, kind of what I'm looking out here, over the next couple of days, what I'm looking for in the overall market when it comes to some key technical levels, and what to watch out for tomorrow when it comes to Jerome Powell. Keep an eye on his demeanor. Keep an eye on the future here in the short term, what his plans are with the Fed. It's going to be huge, guys. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content like this. And if you want to claim one free stock from WeBull valued up to $1,400, you can use my affiliate link down below. All you have to do is put in $100 and you get that free stock, again, valued up to $1,400. I appreciate you guys' support, as always, for watching these videos. It means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next one. Stay safe out there. Peace out. How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here, and in this video,